We live in an era of extreme intolerance where some people, you'll see it all too often, feel like if somebody else doesn't have the exact same worldview as them, or if they have some opinions that they don't agree with, then they just can't associate with those people or engage with them or talk to them on any level to any extent, and they just have to cut them off completely. But if that's the type of person you are, then I would encourage you to reconsider that for at least 3 reasons. Number 1, you have to ask yourself what you're really trying to accomplish, if you're going to be successful, and if it's worth it. Because on one hand, if you're just trying to force people to change their minds by cutting them off and using that negative reinforcement, then there's pretty much only 2 different outcomes to that. Either it's just not going to work because you're not presenting any persuasive reasoning behind why your argument is correct and their opposing argument is incorrect, so there's no reason for them to change their minds. Or you might kind of succeed in one regard, which is that you'll get people to act like they agree with you when really under the surface they don't. They still hold their original opinions, they're just afraid of you and they want you to stop treating them the way that you are. But if you want to argue that you don't care about changing people's minds and instead you just don't want to deal with them if they disagree with you, then all you're really accomplishing is peace of mind. And you have to ask yourself if that's worth the consequences that come with it, like I said, because there are at least 2 very notable consequences. For one, when you're not being challenged on your opinions, then you're likely not going to learn anything new. Because as I've said before, when you're challenged on your opinions, you have to support them. So best case scenario, you can support them and you get proven right. Worst case scenario, you can't support them, but you still learn something new in that case. And the second consequence is you're discouraging opposition because, again, you're imposing those negative consequences whenever someone disagrees with you by cutting them off or something like that. And so you're conditioning them to not want to oppose anybody in the future. And the problem with that is that opposition is actually a necessary force for a free society to continue to function. Because without that, that's what paves the way to authoritarianism, where there's just one group of people whose opinions reign supreme over everybody else, and they can just do whatever they want for better or for worse, because there's no opposition. There's no sense of checks and balances or accountability there. So that's why, as an example, it's a good thing, actually, that we have 2 opposing political parties in our government rather than just one. Because without that, then one of those parties would reign supreme and rise above everybody else, and they could just do whatever they want. Reason number 2 to reconsider your outlook is because of what it says about you. In any case, the way you respond to your judgments of others says just as much, if not more, about you than it does about them. And in this case, being intolerant obviously says that you're intolerant, but if you expect other people to tolerate you, then that makes you hypocritical. And we talked about authoritarianism a second ago. You're even more than that. You're a totalitarian because you expect that you should be able to control how people think and what they say and what they do, which really isn't something to be proud of. And reason number 3 is that opinions and character are 2 different things, even though it might not seem like it. And yes, it's possible for one to influence another, but it's rather presumptuous and reductionistic of you to assume that you know precisely if and how that influence takes place without really getting to know people and assuming that there's any variation or free will there. Because it's entirely possible for 2 different people to have some of the same opinions and still be different people at the end of the day. And it's entirely possible to compartmentalize, to know that even though you have your opinions and some people might disagree with you, you still have to be a civil and respectful person. So for example, we could disagree on what kind of car we think is the coolest. So I could try to argue that the coolest kind of car is the one that's the most masculine, so SUVs and muscle cars. And you could counter that by saying you disagree and you think the coolest cars are the electric ones or the ones that are the most modern and have the most technology. And that doesn't mean by virtue of the fact that we disagree that you're automatically some kind of terrible, awful person and I'm just going to refuse to associate with you, because I could get to know you and it could be entirely possible that you're still fun to hang out with, you have a sense of humor, you're kind and genuine, and that means 10 times more than what random opinions you have on what kind of car you like to drive or anything else like that. So don't be so quick to just cut people off because they have opinions that you don't like, because it just does more harm than good. It says a lot more about you than it does them, and there's still a person underneath all those opinions that you still have to take the time to get to know. So hope that was insightful for you. Let me know if maybe there is an opinion or 2 that you find to be intolerable and if this changes your minds, and I look forward to hearing from you. So thanks for watching. See you next time.